Well, I don't understand why it's not showing what it's supposed to. Oh, is it working now? Oh, I hope it does. I hope very, very much it is, because I am a lot of things, my dear, but technically savvy is not one of them. And so here I was so surprised that Kate Mura with Group Tarot asked me to do a takeover of her YouTube channel to show this lovely deck that she gave me. The Yuletide Tarot by Christopher Hughes, art by Erin O'Leary. Oh my goodness. Oh, I disappeared. I had to put a background on, my dears, because, well, I'm at Santa's workshop, and so we don't want to be giving away any of the surprises for gifts for people now, do we? So, I must admit, though, I am much too technologically unsavvy to be able to answer any questions or things like that. I apologize. I'm very sorry about that. So, I will, however, be taking over this YouTube channel for the rest of today. So I will be keeping eyes on the comments and things like that. And I'll pop in from time to time elsewise. But what many people don't know is that Mrs. Claus is also a Carterman. So when Kate offered to give me this present, I was delighted, because I do not, in fact, have the Yuletide Tarot, and I'm already very excited about it. The box feels nice, and it's one of these lovely magnetic ones, and oh, the magic of midwinter. The book, yeah, it's so lovely. This reminds me of one of the stories that I love to tell. Oh, all right, there we go. And I'm sure you won't be able to read that from there. But what it says is, on the shortest day and the longest night, my gift to you is the warmth of light. Oh, and one of the stories that I tell children, because one of my favorite things to do is I tell stories to children at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Wednesdays, I'm in Bridgeport Village, Barnes and Noble, and Thursdays, I am at Washington Square Mall, and there is a lovely story that I love to read called Share Some Kindness, Bring Some Light. And already, this Yuletide Tarot is warming my cockles, reminding me of that story. That's one of the things that I love about tarot, is that all of these lovely cards have a story. I do wish that there wasn't so much plastic. I do not like it when my cards come wrapped in plastic, but I do like the feel of these cards, certainly. And, oh yes, they have a nice weight to them. Oh, and one of the cards slipped out. You have to see what that is. Oh, and it gives a very, very nice riffle shuffle. I do like it. Excuse me one moment. Let's see what card it was that popped out. Oh, it was the Fool who popped out. And this Fool, oh, it's renamed in this deck to be called the Child. I quite like that. And there's a big wrapped present on a chair, and the Small is just with a candle looking at that chimney, waiting for Santa Claus and Saint Nick to just pop on down. Oh, that's delightful. Let's look at the book here. Oh my goodness, the book is just covered in candy canes. border. I love that. And it's a good size book. I'm just reading directly from it for a moment. I have always loved midwinter's celebrations that warm the heart and body. From the hope of the winter solstice and the rebirth of the sun to the parades and rituals that punctuate the darkest night, to the family gathering on Christmas or Witchmas Day. I love all of them and look forward to their arrival. In the deepest and darkest time of year, humans gather together to celebrate hope, warmth and light. Distant ancestors huddled together against the cold, biting cold and intense darkness to tell stories of peril and wonder. And truly, there are still people, this is for me, this is not the book, and truly, there are still many people today who are doing that same thing, who are huddled out in the cold, displaced by wars, houselessness, and skyrocketing costs. So many reasons that people do not have the kinds of warm, belly-full places that I am so lucky and so privileged to have myself. As a species, back to the book. As a species, we have not changed that much. While our technologies have advanced, many still crave the warmth of the season and the feelings that that evokes within us. Oh, yes, most certainly I do. So lovely. Let's see. Let's do a bit of bibliomancy, shall we? Let's see what we come with. What wants to share with us today? The Seven of Candles. Apparently, the Seven of Candles will have this lovely little person on it. And there are 7 candles there. So this must be a deck that has renamed things. So there are candles and canes and gifts and cheer, candles, gifts, and canes. Canes are the power of air. Gifts are the power of earth. Candles are the power of visions. And cheer is the power of united love. Oh, how interesting that this creator, I'm not sure, probably Christopher Hughes rather than Erin O'Leary, who is the artist, has renamed things a bit and gotten away from an elemental structure. Fascinating. One of the many things that I love about tarot and being a cartomancer is that there are so many different ways to do it. Even though each one of these 78 stories is so specific, it's also so infinitely diverse. I was talking about it to a small yesterday, and I had asked her if she had ever seen the Nutcracker, the beautiful ballet, and she had. I happened to have a good sense that she had because she came from good theatre parents. And I was like, so, you know how you have seen so many different versions of the Nutcracker, and each time it's a similar story, and each time it's also just a little bit different because there are different people, different costumes, and different times when we listen to things. At a different time, we hear it differently. Stories I hear now at my age are very different than how I heard them when I was younger. And oh, looking at these cards, oh, the Magus. It reminds me of Santa Claus when I first met him. Because we are quite magical, are we not? Not everybody thinks that, but I most certainly do. And here we can see the Magus cutting down the mistletoe from the sacred oak with a sacred sickle. We know how to do our work well. So let's see. Oh, the Four of Good Cheer, obviously with the cups, and so much stress around the holidays. I do appreciate that the cards don't try to hide that. I was a little worried with a holiday deck that it might try to be all ribbons and candy canes and happy holiday things, but there are things like this. Oh, yes, the Four of Kings, where it is beautiful. No, not that far close, apparently. Oh, no. Here we go. It's a beautiful candy cane wreath at a gravesite. And so many of us this year are having holidays for the first time with someone who is very loved, who's not there at the table, whether they're celebrating Christmas or solstice or Hanukkah or not, or Kwanzaa, or not celebrating at all because you're an atheist. All, of course, are welcome. And all, of course, are in the Claus's hearts, because we are the spirit of generosity. And we give our generosity to our loved ones, whether they are living or deceased, near ancestors or ancestors of 7 generations and more behind. Ooh. And one of the other things I love about tarot is that I learn new things all the time. This too, which would be the major arcana high priestess, is called the Mari-Lwyd, and that's spelled Marilwyd. So that makes me think it's Welsh, but I don't know of it, so I'm going to have to research that. I love learning new things through each deck and each creator and each artist, and Group Tarot was just so generous to give this to me as a little present. Oh, and here we are, the Four of Gifts. Oh, 444, even though I gave a quick little shuffle, but I noticed when I was skimming through the book that this book is structured that it talks about the major arcana first and then the minors, but in the minors it goes all of the ones and all of the twos and all of the threes, which is of course just as lovely a way to delineate a deck as any other. The Matrona, she who gives birth to the light on the solstice, and I love that there is just this beautiful sun right at the largest part of her belly, or their belly. Many people can have children. Yes. Oh, I am going to quite enjoy this day. I'm noticing that it does look like a lot of white people. Oh, nope. Kissing under the mistletoe. I love that. Beautiful. It's very nice, as you can tell, since I'm quite old. I've been a cartomancer for not all of my life, of course, but a good time. And it used to be that almost all of the decks were primarily white people. And I do so appreciate how decks these days are so much more diverse and so much more culturally specific and caring. I do appreciate that. Well, fascinating. So here we have a small child for justice who has received some coal that day. Because yes, sometimes it's important to not give gifts, to not reward bad behavior. Sometimes the coal is necessary. But it is important to know that gifts can come back when behaviors change. and kindness reigns. And hopefully it can still be done in a kind way. Justice. So the Seven of Canes. Now, this is one of the cards. Every cartomancer, I think, has cards that they love and that they always check. And oh my goodness, we're getting, I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds like it's hailing outside. We'll have to make sure to get the de-icers out just in case Santa's sleigh needs them in a few, well, what day is today? Oh, it's of course the 10th, because Kate and Group Tarot always go live on the 10th of the month. So there are a good 15 days until you get things, but 14 days until we leave to do all of that work. And so hopefully we won't need the de-icers by then, but we'll have to make sure that they're in ship shape, just in case. And that's actually one of the tasks that I do. I'm not all about cookies and stories, although I do love the stories. I also have quite a few of the jobs around the workshop that are not traditional women's work, so to speak. And so, oh, that was quite the tangent. Right, so with the cards, I always like to look at the Eight of Pentacles or coins, or in this deck, I think it will be the Eight of Gifts. Take a look too. And the Star cards. I love to see what they do with those artwork. And if those art cards really speak to me, I know that the deck wants to stay and be mine that I work with quite a bit. And I'm sure that I would love to know what those cards are for you. And I believe that's one of those things that you can pop in the comments. And of course, I won't be able to see it right now for those of you who are live and watching. I'm so sorry that I'm just not that technically savvy. But I promise that I will look at them and answer you for a bit, and we can have a nice chat about the similarities and differences. But one of the cards that I frequently have a little bit of a challenge with, and it's a bit of a tricky card for me, and it makes a lot of sense because the Seven of Swords is a bit of a tricky card in general, and sometimes it's Robin Hooding and sometimes it's thieving. And I heard recently that sometimes it can even be people thinking about adultery or who actually are committing adultery. And I do not have that sort of relationship with Mr. Claus. In fact, not very many people know this, but I am quite pansexual and polyamorous. So this Seven of Kings does not quite work for us in that capacity, unless, of course, there is some miscommunication going on. So I could have a nice check-in with Mr. Claus, because it's always good to have a nice check-in every now and again anyway. But here, they've definitely, the artist, Erin O'Leary Brown and Christopher Hughes, have definitely gone the thieving route and taking more than you need. And that's very clear here with this individual holding all of the candy canes, a pale-skinned person with brown eyes and short brown hair, wearing a rusty cap and a mustard-coloured puffy coat, holding 7 things of candy canes with empty shelves in the store all behind them. And while there may be a very good reason for that person to be taking so many, hopefully sharing with others, there also might just be greed behind it, and ask that person to put a few back on the shelf for others. The Seven of Gifts. Oh, so since I did that bit of a shuffle, and I do want to see the eights. Oh, I have an Eight of I have the 8 of candles here, so hopefully the 8 of coins will be somewhere near by the 8 of gifts, I think. Oh, yes, here it is. The 8 of gifts. In this case, it is many packages tied up in beautiful bows, beautiful paper. And that is a lovely representation of the 8's energy and going back and making sure that it's perfect and finding the right wrappings and the trappings for the right gifts and things. Yes, I can quite get behind that. Oh, well, that's an interesting shift. The 9 of candles, so that would be the 9 of rods. I think it's I can't get the card close enough to the camera here, but our friend has many bags and one of them is broken, and so the candles are spewed out on the streets, and the 9 of the 9 of wands is so much that energy of like continuing to go forward and do the work and needing to take the pause and needing to heal, but not have always taking the time and energy to do so. And that falling out that happens when the bag is wet, when it doesn't actually have the chance to fully dry, things just fall out. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh, my goodness. So, instead of having the Tower card, we have the lightning tree. Isn't that fascinating? Hmm. That brings in the the uh, the lightning from the tower and the lightning rod ideas and the inspiration that can come, and the damage and the destruction. Oh, what's interesting, looking at this card closer, I wish I could get this closer to the camera for you. Maybe maybe Group Tarot has maybe Kate has her own copy that she'll be able to show you some close-ups at another time. But the tree that is the lightning tree here is the one that was decorated, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there are 8 cloaked figures scattering away from the tree after it's been hit by lightning. I don't know if they had been doing a midwinter ritual around it, or maybe a moon cycle, maybe it was an espit time, but ornaments are falling off of the tree after it's been hit by lightning, and all of the other trees around it in the grove are covered in snow, but no other tree is decorated, just the one that was hit by the lightning. Fascinating. Oh, well, the 9 of good cheer, so that would have been the 9 of cups. This is an interesting depiction of it. It is quite clearly after the party, and there were at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are at least 5 guests at the table, and there were 1, 2, 3. Well, of course, there are going to be 9 glasses, but who knows? Someone might have had more than 1 cup. And might have used 2 cups, although not very environmentally responsible to use more than 1 cup these, well, at any time, but especially these days. And so we have, presumably, our host, or hostess, or hostex here, finishing up a glass of wine themselves, and some lovely sprigs of holly on the table, and crumbs of food and glasses of wine, and the remnants of, I want to say a cheese plate because, well, I love a cheese plate. A nice Stilton cheddar happens to be my favorite. But it could, in fact, also be a nice sushi roll. It's a bit hard to say. And there are some bowls of food in the background as well. And I just get such an air of contentment off of our lovely host here. Art on the walls and such. The cards do feel quite nice in the hand. Oh, and here's my other card that I like to look at, the star. The star here for on top of the tree. I love that. Oh, that's quite delightful. And this is quite the tree. It is definitely pruned and dressed to show off ornaments and candles. Well, for this tree actually has the old-fashioned choice of hanging actual candles on the tree. So it, of course, is very important to make sure that there's a good distance between each of those boughs, so none of them actually catch on fire and bring that fire into your house only in a form of a nice fireplace. Oh, I wonder if there's a card that has a nice fireplace. Oh, yeah. Oh, the moon has a nice fireplace. Oh, look at that. That is quite lovely. Oh, good. And yet another card with a nice diversity of characters in it. I love seeing more melanated individuals. Yes, yes, yes. Mm. And truly, going in and doing the reflective work of the moon, it's such a lovely thing to do by firelight, to do with the Yule log burning in the back, or just any sort of log. I think right now I have cedar in the fireplace, and so delightful. Oh, and so the story continues from the 8 of gifts to the 9 of gifts. We now presumably see the person who wrapped all of these gifts, slightly slumped in her chair. She looks more like my age. I appreciate a nice range of ages in my decks as well, of course. And all of those presents that we saw in the 8s are now, I'm just dropping cards now. Excuse me. And all of those gifts that we saw being wrapped in the 8s are there, all wrapped and tucked nicely under the tree. And also with a nice fireplace. I do love a good fireplace. Do I do? I also like it when my ruffles are nice and neat. Oh, and of course, going back to the stresses. Things are not always easy at the holidays. Things get expensive and bills pile up. This 10 of candles, so the 10 of rods, fire it would be, is looking at all of these receipts, and the individual has their head in their hands as if they have a headache, not knowing how they're going to pay for everything when the credit card bills come in. Or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just normal things like gas bills and water bills going up and rent going up. We can't actually read what's on any of these receipts, so it's just a presumption on my part, which is quite nice for a tarot card, actually, because that way if this card comes up for people in your readings, you can just sort of ask them what receipts are coming to you. And it can be very intentional and specific for the person you're reading for. Oh, and talk about a shift of energy. I think we'll end it on this one. The sun is this beautiful winter picnic out on the snow with a beautiful green blanket and wine and pies and muffins. Oh, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people ice skating in the background. How lovely. So frequently, the sun card is either just 1 or 2 children on a horse with that big, beautiful sun in the background. And it's so lovely to have this sun be a neighborhood. Maybe it's a group of friends who have all come together. Maybe it's a group of strangers who are just sharing the same beautiful place on this good earth, our only home, that we all have duty and work to sustain and nurture over the years so that it may continue on for all of the generations to come. Oh, how delightful. Well, my friends, I think on that literal sunny note, coming up right before the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. Oh, I wanted to put my gloves back on because I just love my lacy gloves so much, but I'm going to have to use my actual fingers to stop this. So thank you so much, my dears, and a very lovely thank you to Stacy and Red Shoe Productions. You all know why. And Kate and Group Tarot wanted me to let you know that do continue to tune in on the 10th of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific for more lives. And she's very excited next month to be diving into runes and heathenism with Phyllis Steinhauser, who the two of them have known each other for many, many years. And one of the things that they're going to be talking about, which is so important, is especially for white people, is to be listening for the warning signs that a group that you're with may be white supremacists, because it is very important that we continue to foster generosity of heart and diversity of peoples. Like the star card, we are all so much better when we create our beautiful constellations with our unique selves. So I hope that your needs are met this holiday season, and that however you do or do not celebrate, that you are able to keep a spirit of warmth and kindness and generosity in your heart. Have a lovely rest of your day, my friends. All right, trying to end it. I'm clicking the button, but it is not working. Apparently, you don't want me to end this. Well, I'm delighted that you want me to stay, but